Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and so today finally got the last banner, right? Sygna, Lysandre, Raihan, and Volo. Not sure why Raihan's in this banner. I mean, of course, he's getting the Techie X roll, all these characters have that, whatever, right? But it's Raihan, he's a Lodge character. Those things usually aren't in most other scouts. Sure. It's not like it's bad or whatever, but anyway, of course the big characters to rerun here are obviously Lysandre and Volo, but Raihan did get a good buff, so I mean, that's something. Anyway, I want to look at the banner's value. Overall value, not that great, frankly. Lysandre is a very solid striker, Raihan's a pretty solid striker, Volo's got good utility. For the most part, these characters are very replaceable. Water type, you don't really need Lysandre. You can use a lot of other options. Water's one of the biggest types in the game. Steel, we just got out of a steel buffing anniversary, so Raihan's definitely not super required. And Volo's utility, while good, is very gimmicky, and it's honestly, there's a lot of other characters that can kind of fill a lot of the different niches that he can do. Like if you need good debuffs, Classic Elisa exists, Champion Leaf exists, we're getting Fall Chantal right. Those type of characters can do a lot of good debuffing. Fairy Zone, Penny's got Fairy Rebuff, Sygna Suit Mina's got Fairy Zone, Sygna Suit Wally's got Fairy Zone. They apply similar, they work similarly, or they can set those effects similar to Volo. He can do supportive abilities, but of course that can also be replaced by an actual dedicated support, or someone like Sygna Suit Lear, who's got crazy supportive ability, right? So overall banner value, not too great, but it doesn't mean the characters in the banner are bad. Obviously, Lysandre's nuts. In his own right, he's nuts. He's got 480 special attack, decent defenses for a striker with full investment, 855 of health is good, 341 speed is fine. His main damaging option is Steam Eruption, 4 gauge, 188 power, 30% chance to burn. It is guaranteed because of Hostile Environment 3, which boosts it to 120%. Of course, guaranteed. Heat Wave as well for a AoE fire damaging option. Not that great unless like on type. Even then, not that fantastic, but again, boosted burn chance up to 40%. And then he's got his buddy move, Heat Hydro Pump. This is activated when there's a burned enemy. It's 3 gauges, 300 power, 100% accuracy. Power is not lowered if there are multiple targets. Applies super effective next to the user, applies free moves next effect to the user, and increases special moves next by a number of ranks equal to the burned opponents on the opponent's field of play. So he's able to get more special moves next after using this for powering up his Heat Wave or Steam Eruption. Probably Steam Eruption, and that's obviously going to be really strong. This buddy move's pretty strong in its own right. It is only one use, so it's not like Ray or Champion Silver or Champion Marnie. None of those type of characters is like very strong buddy moves, but it is still very strong in its own right, and obviously can be kind of nuclear, especially if given Rain, special moves next, defensive drops, stuff like that, right? And then his trainer move, Blazing Belief, which raises crit by 3, accuracy by 1, and applies free moves next to the user. And he also has Grand Entry 4 for buffing special attack by 4 on entry. So he's got almost full self-sufficiency in his offensive stats, a good damaging option with Steam Eruption, and a good nuclear buddy move with Heat Hydro Pump. Also, he does have Searing Surge 5 for a sync and regular damage buff when the enemy is burned. So a 50% power buff to all of these moves and a 50% sync nuke multiplier. Obviously, you're going to want more sync nuke multipliers outside of that, but still, that's not bad at all. That can be really, really strong. So Lysandre does have a good base kit for being able to do good damage. And the grid obviously helps that out. He's got Scorching Sync 9 for a 90% sync nuke multiplier, Furious Brain for a damage multiplier, Burned Attack is special defense down 9, lowering enemy attack and special defense when attacking a burned enemy, Raging Rain 2, Burn Synergy 1, Scorching Sync 2, Burn Boost Special 2. These are his main forms of increasing damage for himself. He's got Sync multipliers with Scorching Sync 2 and 9 on top of Searing Surge 5 for what is that 160% in nuking multipliers with the EX roll plus like Critical Strike 2 or Weathered Warrior as a lucky skill. He's got a good sync nuke. He's got Furious Brain and Raging Rain 2 and Burn Synergy 1 for actual damage on Steam Eruption and his buddy move, and Heat Wave, of course, if you want to, which also does have super duper effective 9 as well. So he's got good ways of buffing his damage, which all are easy to activate, right? Just Rain, Burn, and special attack buffs, all of which you're going to want anyway, obviously. So he's got very, very strong methods of doing damage. He's got Adrenaline for a little bit of sync acceleration, Piercing Gaze for making sure he can't miss. Some other abilities like Trainer Move NPR or Trainer Move Ramp Up for being able to fully maxed out stats. I don't know why you would go for Train Move NPR. It's just accuracy and free moves next. But Train Move Ramp Up's pretty good. Also Brain Gain 9, not really too worth going for in my opinion, but you could pick it up. And then a few other things like Heat Wave Scorching Touch 4 with a 50% chance to leave enemies burned. This could be good if you want a higher burn chance on enemies and you want to maybe, again, burn all of them simultaneously, which could activate the buddy move and give you those +3 special moves next, right? So that's not bad, definitely. Either way, his main form, or main abilities, of course, are going to be his damage-enhancing properties. Again, here, the Sync Nuke multipliers, the burn synergies, the special defense drops, the special moves next buffs when attacking burned enemies. These are what Lysandre really wants. What's bad about him is that this is all he's got. A damaging character just doing damage isn't a bad thing, but of course a lot of damaging characters nowadays have good utility. Lysandre's only real utility is his special defense drops, which is good, for sure, but again, he could afford to have a little bit more. Either way though, if you're wanting him to just do some good damage, which I'm sure is what most people are aiming for, he's really, really strong with at the roll, right? It's just that water also has a lot of other options, so if you just need a good water character, there's going to be many opportunities to find it. Like, we just got Clavel, right? Granted, wouldn't go for Clavel either, but still. We're getting Dahlia in an upcoming scout as well. So that just goes to show water's getting a lot of good options to rerun. Overall, a very good striker character. Moving on to Volo. Volo is a field character with a Techie X roll with full stats. He's got 258 special defense and defense, 845 health, 414 in both offenses, and 322 speed. Not fantastic stats, but definitely not bad either. He's a big utility character. He's got Sinnoh Solidarity, applying the defensive Sinnoh Circle, as well as increasing ally physical and special moves next. He's got the Masterful Metronome Buddy move, which uses one of several moves at random, activates one of several random effects, and increases physical and special moves next of all allies by 1. I do not remember what these effects are for the most part, but I'm pretty sure he can give allies like free moves next, maybe. I know his random moves are very strong because it's a buddy metronome. It's like Frenzy Plant, Giga Impact, Hyper Beam, Blast Burn. I'm pretty sure Fissure is still in there. Power Whip's in there as well. Like, these are mostly strong moves he can be using, but obviously not consistent damage because they are of random category. They are of random type, right? You're not able to enhance them very directly, right? Unless you're like using Hyper Beam, which you need to get pretty lucky for. Anyway, and then his Trainer move, this is an investment, raises ally attack and special attack by 4 and crit by 3. Sorry, and allies, so he can use it on himself, which probably will, but you can also use this for support and buff an ally instead, which I do like for him, because again, he can be pretty defensive. In its passive skills, he's got Peaked Curiosity, making his moves never miss. His normal moves become Fairy, and he turns Field of Play into Fairy Zone the first time his status move is successful each battle, which is Metronome. This is how he sets Fairy Zone, on top of also being, again, Field, so he sets it on the Sync move as well. He's also got Business Opportunity, which lowers one of the enemy stats at random when the attack move is successful, one of all the core stats, plus evasion and accuracy, and charges move gauge by 1 when its attack move hits. So he's got good gauge recharge, he's got good random debuffing in general, he's got Unfortuitous 4 as a signature lucky skill as well, which you're probably only ever going to see if they opt to ever rerun Jacques and Volo's story event, which they just did for free in like the story event. It's a story event, like the story rerun event thing, which did not bring back the exchange shop, so you still couldn't get his cookie. But either way, if you somehow do, if you had it from the previous event, or if it ever reruns in the future, Unfortuitous 4 is a good lucky skill for him. He's also got Circle Team Sync Move up 3, applying its 30% Sync Move multiplier to allies when a circle is applied to the ally field of play, on top of the already buff that he's giving to allies from the circle being active in general. I think it's up to 20% of a power buff. So up to 50% support to ally sync move damage, which is pretty good, right? Again, he's a supportive type of character. Problem with him is that he doesn't really have anything outside of those like debuffs and zone and enhance. He's got good enhancement properties, but these are more enhancement properties of a support character, but he's a support character that cannot tank. He does not have good defensive stats. His healing is very, very, very middling, and his defensive prowess in general isn't fantastic. But I mean, he definitely can work, for sure. You can definitely make him work in at least low-tier content, or of course you can just bring him plus a support if you really want to, and that's fair enough. This is not a bad base kit. The enhancement's not bad for sure, but again, he kind of tries to play like a jack-of-all-trades role, doing a little bit of damage, zone setting, support, whatever, right? And that kind of messes with his like synergy with other characters a little bit, or his the efficiency of actually using him over another option, right? With the grid, he does get better. I mean, he gets Brain Sync 5, which is still not really worth going for. Like, they want you to sync for Fairy Zone, but did not give him the support EX roll, which is what he really would have appreciated more than Tech. That would have buffed his defensive stats, HP. That would have given support EX on the sync move, but they really just for some reason wanted to go that Jack of all traits route and increasing all stats. So, Brain Sync 5 not really helping out too much there, but it does something, I guess. Fairy Zone team attack move damage reduction, reducing damage taken when under Fairy Zone. This does stack, of course, on top of the circle, so you are getting some good damage reduction, on top of debuffs via Overwhelm 9 and Satisfied Snicker 9, and the other debuffing passes he's got, so he's able to debuff offensive stats, and of course, other stats as well, via like Sundering 9 and those same passives. He can get debuffs in, prevent or mitigate ally damage, and again, mitigate ally damage via the circle, and also the passive here. It's not bad. Head Start 1 as well for some sync acceleration. He could use that pretty well. Super Duper Effective 5. If you do manage to land Metronome under Super Duper Effective 5, it's going to do a lot of damage. Or, of course, Dazzling Gleam. Fairy damage. Sure, man. Sure. Not really that great. He does also have the inverse with not super effective moves up too, powering up his moves by 20% for moves that are not super effective, just so you can actually get something out of the damage that is not... that isn't going to be hitting that hard, because again, not super effective, right? That's kind of the aim for him. And I guess you can kind of start to understand like the issue that Volo has, right? He tries to play the Jack of all trades supportive role, debuffing role, whatever, but overall probably would not be a lot better than another like damaging option. Like if you're using him for his fairy enhancing properties, Sygna Suit Wally and Sygna Suit Wally Sync Nuke to enhance a damage dealing character like Sygna Suit Gladion, Sygna Suit Nemona, or even like Diantha, would be a better choice for the most part. Again, you can make Volo work for sure. Just you got to consider that there are likely going to be better options, and Volo's utility is good. But again, there's cases where another damage dealer or another specific character would be again better. But hey, he does have good team defensive prowess. Sadly, his healing is lacking as well. If they would have given support EX role and better healing via maybe like recuperation or even just like first aid 4 or something, it would have helped him a lot. I really do think so. So, yeah, anyway, that's Volo. And to finish off, we do have Raihan as well. Raihan, a Steel Strike character, again, getting the Tech EX roll here. With full investment, he's got very solid stats. His defenses are fine, nothing great. His HP is good, for sure. Nearly 1,000 HP is good. Defenses are whatever. His special attack's good, 480 special attack, and speed of course is lacking, being Duraludon, slow as shit. He does have his main damaging move as Steel Beam, 238 power. He takes damage equal to 50% maximum HP. The damage is taken even when the attack fails. It's 4 gauge, but he does have Standfast 9 to mitigate recoil, and in the grid he has recoil removal 9 if you do get him up to 3 out of 5. So that is helpful. He's also got Dragon Pulse and Rock Slide for other damaging options of other types. Mostly if you just want to use Raihan for these types. That's kind of what this is designated for, like you can, but why really would you for efficiency purposes? Again, if you want to use him for Dragon or Rock damage, you can. It's just that he's really excelling as a Steel type damage dealer, if anything. And then Trainer Move top this, applying crit buffs by 2, super effective next, free moves next, gradual healing, and lower special defense by 1. Similarly to Lysandre, he has Ferocious Entry 4 for buffing his attack and special attack by 4 on entry. So that does give him the ability to use all of these moves with +4 special attack, +2 crit, and everything else he applies. And also Head Start 1, because why not? Sure, Sync Acceleration. He's an older character, so kind of just a slapped-on passive, I guess. Anyway, base kit's not that crazy. He's got no multipliers. His main damaging option's pretty good, for sure, but like we came off of a Steel anniversary. We have Anniversary Lily now. We've got Sygna Suit Lear. We've got Arc Suit Steven, BP Rose. Characters like that you can get for either free or would have likely gotten just due to their value that can, at least in Steven and Raihan, or not Raihan, Steven, Lily, and Lear's case, they can enhance Raihan, but also could actively replace him, right? Like that combination of Lily, Lear, and Steven is already a crazy team by itself. Still though, I mean, damaging option's fine, just doesn't have any multipliers to activate it, so you do want dupes, and those same dupes do give him quite a bit of help. With 3 out of 5 investments, he's got Sand Blaster 5, Surging Sand 3, Tough Cookie, Recoil Removal 9, Grand Entry 2, and a few other nodes as well, but these are probably the big ones. I would not say Focus Rush is that big, just bring a crit support. And I guess also like sync move, sync notes here. Recoil removal 9 is nice for completely mitigating all recoil, or removing all recoil. That does help quite a bit, because Standfast 9 you could still take a decent bit of damage, even with like gradual healing and team healing and whatnot, when Raihan starts really doing a lot of damage. So having that recoil removal is probably going to be helpful. Tough Cookie and Surging Sand are good multipliers. He works very well in Sand, but it's more so that Sand partners don't necessarily work well with him. There's not a dedicated like Sand character that you're going to bring for Steel types. I mean, like, Arcsuit Steven and Cynthia pair well, but you're not going to pair on Raihan as a third for that team. Not most usually. You can, but again, for just efficiency purposes, getting Ground Zone up for a character like Raihan is probably going to be somewhat challenging, because he's also special-oriented, so characters like... I mean, Ingo's probably your best bet, for sure. Ingo's your best bet to get supported, but also Ingo's not fantastic in terms of, like, enhancing characters anymore. Just some crit buffs, attack buffs, and special attack buffs, potions. He doesn't really enhance damage that much via, like, debuffs or special physical moves next, that type of thing. But still, I mean, he's probably the best support you're going to get for Raihan. And again, other Sand setters like maybe Variety Giovanni, Paulo, Champion Silver, Arcsuit Cynthia, whatever, all these characters are going to synergize super well with Raihan, for one being of other typings that would just benefit from their own zones or similar partners, and also Raihan being a more special-oriented character that wants a special enhancer, right? Still, though, I mean, again, you could make Ingo work and then pair him with another character like maybe Anniversary Lily or Signa Suit Lear, or even Arcsuit Steven, double support mode, and have it work. And Sandblaster 5 is his only sync move multiplier. It's not great. That's not really where you're going to be using his sync move, so just don't even consider this at 3 out of 5. Just Tough Cookie and Surging Sand are his best multipliers. Also with Tough Cookie, you got to consider you need defense buffs, which he cannot provide by himself, so again, going to need support to kind of provide that. So at that point, Ingo does not even actually work as his best support, because Ingo can't buff defenses. Cool. Though with dupes, Raihan does get better. He's got Cakewalk, Trip Twice, 9, Sand Sink, and Withered Warrior 3. Sand Sink does actually help him set sand, though it is only once, and when it's when the sync move is used, so you still need another character to set sand. But at the very least, he does have another instance of it, so it can help. Withered Warrior 3 and Cakewalk are good nuking multipliers. Withered Warrior is also a DPS upgrade as well. That gives him 90% in total sync nuke 90% in total damage multipliers, and 180% in total sync nuke multipliers. That's pretty good. Like, this is like 5 out of 5. Yeah, 5 out of 5 pretty much is Raihan's like sweet spot. The only problem really is that, again, Tough Cookie needs defense buffs, which depending on support can't really provide too well, and Cakewalk you need speed debuffs, which requires Trip Twice 9 or a character that can debuff speed. Just something to consider, right? I mean, Raihan's got good multipliers and whatnot to activate, but activating them could be a problem, and that's probably the biggest takeaway from a character like him. Also, he's slow, right? Gauge isn't going to be too great unless you have a good gauge managing character. Combine that with Arcsuit Steven, who's also not good at managing gauge besides his own, you kind of got a problem. Point being, these characters all are good, but aside from Lysandre, they have their, so basically just Volo and Raihan. So Volo and Raihan, like, specifically do have their cases where they can be good, for sure, but you definitely need to, like, either be willing to sacrifice something better, or you need to be putting a lot of investment in to make them work. And in Lysandre's case, again, he's very replaceable by other water options, considering how many we have. Again, like Dahlia and Yucine are two big ones that kind of replace him, and even Champion, he works well with Champion Serena, but also could be actively replaced by her if need be. So overall, that's my thoughts about this banner. It is good, could be good if you do want to pull for any of these characters. All these characters are good, but again, better value elsewhere, and overall characters that are replaceable. So that's just kind of how it is. Anyway, I'll see you later. Hope you all enjoyed. You look on your summons, go look on your skipping. Finally got this done. Peace.